Hello everybody, how's it going today? Glowplasma231 here, back in Daytime about Witch Watch episode number 8. This episode is titled Kanshi's Part-Time Job Diaries, the superhero show, and the side job. Of course, the original Witch Watch manga was written by Kinto Shinohara, and the anime production is being created by Bilberry Animation Studios. This episode also covers chapters 18 and 37 of the original manga. And oh my gosh, guys, what a really just fun episode of Witch Watch do we have this week. I was honestly really waiting for at least the episode whenever we would get the second part of this episode sort of adapted, or the second chapter that we focus on, which is Kanshi's Part-Time Job Diaries to side job, because I remember originally reading the manga, what was that now, like a little under 3 years ago, and really enjoying that chapter just for how absurd and honestly pretty funny it was, in my opinion, with Kanshi all just like zipping around really fast. I was really to see how they would go and adapt that into the anime production, and honestly I think they just did a really just superb job at it. But of course we will be talking about all of that here in a second. But if you guys don't know how this video series works, I sort of just like said it right there. Of course, I am going through and I'll be talking about the Witch Watch anime. I have a page of handwritten notes, almost one full page, the front and back fit long, so I'll be going through just talking about this episode. Of course, this is coming from a manga reader's perspective. I've been reading the Witch Watch manga since the first chapter in Weekly Shonen Jump, and the anime came out and I'm like, hey, let's just talk about it or do something like that, if you know what I'm saying. So that's pretty much how we do these videos here, and honestly, without any further ado, let's just go and hop on into the episode. Then we'll talk about the episode, then we'll get to all the anime changes, and legitimately, there's not many of them this week, right? I actually probably should check that first. So we start with this episode of Witch Watch with a little bit of a series recap of this series as far, pretty much like, hey, this is Nico, she's moved in with Morito, also Kanshi's here now, and they are her familiars. Pretty much going through all the explanation of the series at hand, right? And then we really get into the episode itself, as we see that Kanshi tries to go over to Morito, be like, hey, do you mind if I, like, pay my rent, like, a month later, or something like that? It's just like, I just don't have the money right now, but I promise I'll have it for you next month, right? And Morito's just like, well, if you don't have the money, go and get it, as he pretty much shows Kanshi a flyer for a part-time hero job at a local park, pretty much, right? At this point, we get the opening theme of the episode, which is Watch Me by Yoasobi. There's not really much more I can say on this song besides what I've said the previous 7 episodes so far, which is like, hey, this song is just pretty good. It's a pretty good opening. Yoasobi, whenever they do an anime opening, I normally enjoy it, and this one is no different, you guys know? So as we sort of get into the episode as it is, we see that Kanshi is pretty much auditioning for the role of a lead hero role, or not really a lead hero role, just a role of a hero in an upcoming show, right? Pretty much it's like just a stage play show that's being put on at a local park, just to like sort of drum up a little bit of attention, all things considered, right? And Kanshi's going through trying to do his various thing, doing a bunch of like acrobatic skills back and forth, and eventually the director says like, hey, I would like you to play the hero. Recently, our guy who played the hero before got a little hurt, so he's not really doing as well as he once was, which is why we want you to play this role, pretty much, right? And Kanshi's like, okay, I guess I'll do it, right? And at this point, we get the play-by-play of really what the whole show is pretty much building up to, as we just sort of see like, hey, there's this guy, his alternate ego is the hero of Otto-Man, and this whole thing is he's going through, he doesn't really have a loving home life. It seems like his wife and him really don't get along. Oh, he misses a train, he hops on another one because he wanted to sit, but he has to stand anyway. He gets to work, and then his boss gets mad at him because he was a little late to get back after lunch or something. Oh, there's this other woman there, and it seems like she is very, like, high-key on him, and, like, she wants to go out with him, but she knows he's married. And eventually it's revealed, like, oh, no, she is this big monster all along, and this entire time we are getting, like, Kanshi's play-by-play commentary, just, like, going through, like, whoa, I'm invested now, what is this? This is stupid, and just going back and forth doing all of that. Eventually, Kanshi goes, oh no, a monster appears. It's now Kanshi's job to actually be the guy in the suit with all the acrobatics. He goes through and does all the attacking and stuff like that now in the moment. And oh no, the guy gets mad at him because he ad-libbed a few lines. He won't get paid if he does that, pretty much, right? And eventually this sort of gets all the way to the idea of like, okay, the regular guy of Otto-Man appears back home, and his wife is like, hey, do you not remember what day it was? Oh no, honey, what day is it? It's our wedding anniversary. Oh no, I totally forgot. That makes me a terrible person, pretty much, right? And the whole joke about who Otto-Man is that he is Otto-Man who, whenever he really messes up, he kneels down on the ground and becomes an ottoman for whoever to pretty much put their feet up on. Oh, look at that. Really, really funny joke. I legitimately forgot that was a joke of this chapter, and it caught me a little bit off guard whenever I was coming back through here to watching the actual episode, right? Well, as Kanshi sort of realizes what this play is all about, it's getting time to like, okay, it's time to actually put in the general performance, right? And going around, Kanshi runs into the actor of the monster, whose name is Hironaka, right? And pretty much, he was the guy who was supposed to be playing Automan the entire time, right? Pretty much, he just says, like, yeah, it sucks a little bit, but I sprained my ankle, and my kid's honestly really sad because I was supposed to be playing the lead role, playing the hero for the first time, but it sort of is what it is. And eventually, Kanshi's just like, hey, well, why don't you play the role and we'll pretty much just make it work? Like, tell your kid that I am Automan, sort of like stand proud here in the moment, right? And we look around the corner for whenever Kanshi's telling Hironaka this in an alleyway, we see that Morito is hearing this from the background, right? Oh, hey, that's a little bit nice of a thing. Well, we see them up on stage. We see Nico and Morito are, of course, there watching, along with this little child and a few other people. And the whole idea, like, there's actually, like, a massive crowd coming to watch this thing, right? And the whole idea is like, hey, these two end up switching their roles and really ad-lib a lot. And being that this guy's ankle is sprained, Hironaka, he can't easily go around and just, like, attack like he normally would. So whenever he does, Kanshi pretty much is like, hey, take a shot at me, right? And this guy, like, barely just goes and tries to kick him on the side, like, very lightly. And Kanshi, of course, uses his Tengu Wind abilities to make it like, oh no, spiraling up like a maelstrom all around the kick. And he flies back into some equipment, right? And it just happens over and over again. And we just get a little bit of a narration saying like, hey, for everybody in the park, this was the best show ever. But we then go to the back room where it's like, oh no, that's not very good, as we pretty much see the director's like, hey, you two ad-lib, switch off the roles, you guys aren't making any money today, right? So, oh no, Kanshi didn't make any money out of his first part-time job, right? So pretty much we see that Kan, Nico, and Morito are all walking home, and Morito ends up giving Kanshi a little bit of leeway on the job, being like, hey, I understand you were trying to do a good thing there, so I'll give you a leeway, but just know, next month you will be paying 2 months of rent on the same time, okay? Like, we'll delay it a little bit for you, but not that much, pretty much, right? And the whole idea is eventually they get back and Morito's like, but hey, if you don't pay in 1 month, oh no, it's going to be something bad, right? And then we cut to 1 month later where we see that Kanshi has to be an Ottoman for Morito. Haha, bringing the joke all back together, right? And honestly, it's a little bit of a nice thing as we also just see a little bit of a shot of Hironaka and his child sort of just having a good time after the whole Ottoman performance there. And this is also where we, in the first part of this episode, of course, Kanshi's part-time job diaries, the superhero show, and move into the break of the episode. And the second part of the episode, Kanshi's part-time job diaries, the side job, right? But of course, the break images that we see are, of course, the dad and child, of course, Hironaka and his child are just, like, hanging out, doing the role of, like, Ottoman together, like, both just, like, planking on the ground, getting ready to, like, do that role. And also, we see that Kanshi is just trying to talk very, very slow. And, of course, that leads us into the second part of this episode. So we see this side job is there's a little bit of, like, a 3-day weekend over break whenever Kanshi is Kanshi has time to do another side job. That's the whole idea here, right? And we see that Kanshi pretty much got sort of like a drop shipping gig or something like that, where he got sent a bunch of these screws in these bigger boxes, and he has to go through and painstakingly put all of these screws into these tinier, smaller bags, pretty much. Like, hey, count 10 of them, put them in here, then put them in our box, and then ship them back to us, pretty much. And Kanshi's just being the laborer who's doing something that nobody else wants to do, pretty much, right? And we see that Kanshi has, like, a lot of these boxes in the back of his room is, like, he thought this would be a really fun and easy job to do, so it's, like, really quick, really easy, and he'd be able to just make some quick cash from it, pretty much, right? But, of course, we see that's not how it works, and Kanshi's like, okay, this is way too slow, this is incredibly boring, like, what am I absolutely supposed to do, right? But, of course, what can he do but go ask his witch friend for help, of course, in Nico, right? And pretty much Nico says, like, okay, I have a spell that can pretty much help you out, right? It's called Quickie Quick 10 times speed, or really whatever speed you want to, from like 1.5 all the way up to 10 times speed, and Kanshi's like, just give me the 10, and Nico pretty much just says, like, hey, there's 3 stipulations, though. There is no dispelling this spell, you cannot attack anything, or be, like, going the offensive for anything, and also, the 10 times speed may make the subject go on a mental breakdown, pretty much. And Kanshi's like, hey, it'll be fine, I'll deal with it. Of course, Kanshi's the type to act without really thinking about the ramifications later, and that's what happens here. Nico casts a spell, quick, 10 times speed on him, and pretty much we see this makes Kanshi's brain pretty much work at 10 times the speed, right? So, of course, it seems to him, he's just living his regular life, and eventually we get the whole idea for what Moy and Nico end up seeing. They see that Kan is sped up by 10 times, but of course, Moy and Nico aren't sped up this sort of same rate, which means that Kanshi sees those two at 0.1 times speeds. They almost look like ghosts just here in the moment doing all of their things, right? And of course, this means that time just moves slower for Kanshi, which also means that he's not stuck in here for 3 days, he's stuck in here for 30 days. Oh no! This is terrible, right? And we see that Kanshi's still trying to do his part-time job. He's like, no, this absolutely sucks, right? Pretty much, we also see that he is just eating like 30 times a day, being like, hey, 30 minutes is like close enough to like 5 hours. So like the break between breakfast and dinner, all of those, like just quickly going through. He eats a lot of times a day, being like, hey, his brain and he is still using all of this energy and everything, but it's just not like how it was before. You know what I'm saying? And pretty much Kanshi's like, okay, this absolutely sucks, right? And my favorite part of this chapter is just when we get a lot of narration from Morito about the general situation, right? Is the whole idea is like, hey, we bought a lot of food for Kanshi, and we didn't even see him grab it, but it just, like, went and disappeared at various intervals, right? And pretty much we just see all of this is going on, and Morito's like, yes, it absolutely sucks. Just watching him do his thing, he just seems so incredibly lonely. Kanshi actually finished his job very early on, and now he just stares in his room and stares at his Tengu shrine because that's the only thing he can really do, right? He can't communicate with anybody. Oh no, this is terrible, right? And of course, he's lived a long time, which means he's also got to wash all of his clothes in his mind, even though it's only been 3 days for everybody else. It's been like 30 days for him. So it's like, oh no, his underwear is all hanging out to dry, but it's taking forever to dry. So Kanshi has to go and be like, hey, Morito, can you go buy me underwear? Morito ends up going over and do that. Whenever he gets back, we see that Keigo comes over to the Otogi household and pretty much just says like, yeah, you explained the situation to me. Like, whoa, that's actually crazy seeing him zip around like that. But I brought what you want to, a phone app to pretty much slow down your voice pretty much, right? And we see that Keigo comes by and does all of that, and the whole idea is like, hey, yes, it's been 2 days, which means that Kanshi hasn't had like a decent conversation at all for the past like 20 days. Like, this is terrible. And we then see that Kanshi comes out and ends up speaking in a slow language, of course, like 10 times slower, so everybody else can understand him, even if it's hard for them to understand him, pretty much, right? As the whole idea is they all sit down and eat at dinner, and even though Kanshi's food was gone in an instant, they still had a really good time. Oh, it's just so sad for Kanshi, right? But eventually we see a few days later, or at least a few days later for Kanshi, the spell's effect wears off, and we see that Kanshi's now suffering through like a time lag, pretty much, where he's like trying to talk slow and act like doing all this movement slow to make it look more normal, even though, of course, we have this whole idea of like, yeah, he's back to his regular time. Legitimately, I just thought this was a really funny joke of a chapter. Kanshi got all of his job done, and he made some money at the end of the day, right? It's at this point where we get the ending theme of the episode. Of course, Maho Spice by Oh. It's pretty good, what can I say, right? It's a little bit of like the same note as Watch Me by Yoasobi. Like, it's a good anime opening, good anime ending. I mean, like, I can't just say anything about it. And we then get the next episode preview, which we pretty much see there are 3 segments next episode: Dear Kara, New Friends, and Date with the Night. And just for like a little bit of like preliminary information, just to make it easier on myself next time to do it, I went ahead and looked up the chapters for these episodes, and it should be chapters 19, 35, and 36. And of course, that's where we end this episode of Witch Watch. So as far as anime changes go for this episode, it's really quite simple. It's legitimately just a little bit in chapter number 37, of course, which is the second half Kanshi's side job whole gig there. Of course, by this point, something has happened with Keigo to where he's around the Otogi household a lot more often. So pretty much as we see it here in the episode, it pretty much is like, oh, hey, Keigo just comes over. No, Keigo was already there when all this actually happened, and that Kanshi actually texted him about a voice slowing down app, and Keigo didn't come over of sort of his own volition and all that. Really gets the same point across at the end of the day, and I do like how the anime is actually portraying Keigo's relationship with the rest of the cast. I think it's, like, very well done. But it's sort of this whole idea where, okay, it's also just a little bit weird how to sort of like re-sequencing some of these episodes, but I don't think it's a problem whatsoever. And also, let me just go over to my other Witch Watch notes to my binder here real quick and bring it over in front of me. Yeah, so it looks like that after this, of course, we've done everything up to Chapter 18. Next time we'll be tackling Chapter 19. We've already done Chapter 20. And then it seems like next episode, or not next episode, but the episode after that, episode 10, maybe the start of our first big, longer arc here in the moment. And we'll be going through all of that arc. And then we have done chapter number 32, and we'll be doing chapter number 35 and 36, along with 37. So there really won't be that much more catching up to do after the fact of like, hey, I'm guessing that, okay, next episode, or episode number 10, will be the start of this longer arc episode, and then episode 9 will just be like, hey, we're going to have a few more joke gag chapters. I say that, chapter number 19 is actually, like, a really emotional chapter we are going to be starting off next episode with, so I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, really not too much else to say about this episode of Witch Watch. Like I said, it's really just a funny episode. I like going through, seeing Kanshi's whole life ordeal, and I like the music, and I like how it's really treated, like how sad Kanshi's life is, whatever this whole idea is like, hey, he is so slowed down in time. Like, the superhero stuff is fine, but it's also just, like, not, like, the crowning jewel of this episode. I definitely think the side job stuff is a lot more funny, right? But yeah, really found out the way. That's all I gotta say about this episode of Witch Watch, of course, episode number 8. If you guys did enjoy this video, I've talked about the Witch Watch anime plenty of other times here on the channel. Pretty much, I've gotten a video on every single episode that's currently out. So, like, hey, this is episode number 8. I've got 7 other videos on all of the other episodes so far. There will be a playlist linked to those in the description box of this video, along with on the end card of this video also. But yeah, for all that, just thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will catch you guys next time for Witch Watch episode number 9. Again, this was episode number 8, titled Kanshi's Part-Time Job Diaries, Superhero Show, and the Side Job. And I'll see you guys next time for next episode, episode number 9, titled Dear Kara, New Friends, and Date with the Night. Until then, I'll catch you guys next time. This will be Glowplasma 231, signing out.